Hi folks, welcome to Revelation chapter 7. And this is probably a good time to talk a little bit about numerology in the book. The number 12 is used by the author to talk about covenant, the covenant community, and multiplication of that number. So in this particular case, this is a chapter where we hear about the 12 tribes of Israel and 144,000. That's a very large number, but it is an exact number. It's symbolic of a huge group of people that are sealed under God's protective care. It is not exactly 144,000. You can Google Jehovah's Witnesses and 144,000 to see what kind of big trouble you can get into if you take things that way. Anyway, you'll notice when you go through the 12 tribes and compare them to the same list in Genesis 49, that it's a pretty different list, especially a different order. Here we see Judah is in first place because Jesus, the Messiah, comes from the line of Judah. And then there's Reuben, who was the firstborn. But then things get kind of strange. Gad, Asher, Naphtali, Manasseh. And where is Dan? Dan is nowhere to be found. What is up with that? Well, if you go back into the Old Testament, you'll find that the section of the promised land of Canaan that was given to the tribe of Dan, they considered to be too difficult to conquer. So instead of doing that work, they actually went to the north of the land of Canaan to a group that God didn't really have any trouble with, slaughtered these unsuspecting folks, and took that land instead. And while they were at it, they started the practice of worshiping idols, at least in the land of Canaan, that really became a snare to people ever since then. You can read about that in Judges 1 and Judges chapter 18. Real quickly about this. Jesus is talking to the 7 churches, and some of these churches are really having a hard time with the persecution that they're facing. They're wondering if they really want to obey a hard call from God. And here we seem to be seeing that we can't presume that just because we have been a part of the first church of what once was and always will be, that we are always in the Lord's will. We are called to obedience, and the stakes are high if we totally disregard God's plan or will. Here's what's really interesting. A guy by the name of Christopher R. Smith pointed out that the list of these folks, these all come from Jacob's, shall we say, servant girls, not the Israelite. It's not from Leah, it's not from Rachel. These are, truly speaking, Gentile kids. These are the ones that are bumped up in the list. And in chapter 7, verse 9, we hear this. After this I looked, and behold, a great multitude that no one could number, from every nation, from all tribes and peoples and languages, standing before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed in white robes and with palm branches in their hands, crying with a loud voice, "Salvation belongs to our God and to the Lamb." That's where the shirt comes into play. Got a picture here of Pastor Abraham and his wife Kadiatu, who are great partners in the gospel. And Abraham and Kadiatu have been reaching out with the good news of Jesus Christ to tribes in Sierra Leone that, for all intents and purposes, have never heard it or received it. The Karanko people, and then more recently, the Susu. Kadiatu sadly, has gone from the church militant to the church triumphant. She is in the presence of the Lord with her white robe singing praises to the Lord. But that work continues. Jesus says the one thing that we can do to hasten his return is to share the good news with every tribe and nation, and then the end will come. Matthew 24:14. Two things to close with. One is God is calling us to work, and it is not necessarily easy work at times, but it's significant, and he is giving us work of great value. Part of that work is racial reconciliation, because, friends, every tribe and nation will be around the throne, and we look forward to that day when we rejoice together. We can begin that work even now. So I encourage you to follow hard after the call of God, even across racial lines, to bring about his good work. God bless you today.